Hello, Savannah, and welcome to another edition of Kandily Kesha. We are here with you on this blessed Monday night, seeking to bring you information you can use and let you know how you can help others in our community. Tonight, we were going to be joined by a Libertarian candidate for Georgia House District 165, Mr. Clinton Coward, but unfortunately, he had a conflict and could not be with us tonight, but promised to be here tomorrow. We wanted to make sure we included all of the candidates who are vying for the 165th post for our Georgia State Representative's office. Keep your eye out and listen closely to the candidates who are vying for those posts. It's important to the decisions that we make on our local city council. So we have a vested interest in making sure we have the best candidate. In the interim, we have had a lot going on in the city of Savannah just in this last week. Crime is at an all-time high. Morale in our various departments is at an all-time low. We have checked the box on hiring a new city manager, and we're hopeful that we can soon turn the corner on some of the most pressing issues that we are facing in our city. Among them are issues related to the relocation of citizens in the Clearview community. It was highly publicized, not as accurately as it could have been. Nonetheless, we have citizens who are being forced out and were given letters indicating that they had to be out of their places this month. Well, if any of you know what I know, and that families have been struggling financially to pay their rent as well as their utilities, it's very difficult to expect a person amidst a pandemic who are already in vulnerable situations to move as well as pay a first month's rent, pay deposits, get storage units, so forth and so on. And so here we are advocating to help these citizens. We do have some good news in that the city manager, in working with the district alderwoman, Bernetta Lanier, were able to get the time extended at least through to the 1st of the January 2022. So we are hopeful that the resources of the city of Savannah, as well as some of our local nonprofits, will be utilized. It would be nice if the local housing authority of Savannah could help. They have been MIA on a lot of these pressing issues related to affordable housing and relocation of our most vulnerable citizens. It is our hope that they will soon plug in and do and make due diligence on who and what they stand for by way of the mission of the Housing Authority of Savannah. In the interim, keep your eye on this situation and make sure you're holding us accountable. Extra news that I was going to bring to you was issues related to House SPLOST funds, which were used to renovate City Council's City Hall, specifically related to the second floor of the mayor's office. And I have yet to receive that information. So we're still doing a little bit of digging. Amidst our digging, we're also, I've been tested for COVID. I don't have COVID. I think it's allergies or something. Amidst other situations that are going on, is an item on our agenda for Thursday. We have city council meeting. It's a day meeting this coming Thursday. We ask that you all will tune in. But before you tune in, we want you to plug in to the agenda. You can access the agenda via our city website page at the savannahga.gov page. The information related to the agenda will be located on the clerk's tab. Yes, if you click on the clerk's tab, that will take you to the agenda. Listed there will be various items we will be asked to vote on, from alcohol license, resolutions, ordinances, as well as zoning issues. And so that's what brings me to my first guest tonight, Miss Carrie Beaver. Carrie is the secretary for the West Chatham County Community Watch Group. It's not a neighborhood association. This has been an underserved community for a number of years, in that the annexation that has taken place puts them in a position where they don't have much representation from Chatham County commissioners. And the attitude of the Savannah City Council members is, we're not voting for it, so we don't have to deal with it. And that is as far from the truth. just because individuals do not vote for you or because they're not in your district does not mean you could not extend the platform or extend your power and authority to providing assistance. And so that's what we have been doing with the West Chatham County Community Watch Association. Those citizens there have been continuously inhibited by the development, one of the landfill, the expansion of such, and they are continuously tasked with the threat of development of property that is being annexed into Savannah. And so I have Carrie Bieber with me here tonight. Carrie, if you want to come on now. We asked Carrie to come on to share with our citizens of Chatham County, everybody, Chatham County, Savannah, and all surrounding communities, because the one thing I know is what happens in someone else's neighborhood could possibly happen in your neighborhood. It's West Chatham today, but it can be your neighborhood tomorrow. And what we want to get across is the fact that the spirit and the behaviors that created this culture that we now live in within our local governmental authorities by way of the county and the city, that's the same tone, that's the same culture that will be guiding decisions related to your community. And so, Carrie, tell us what you all will be facing, this item that we will be looking at on the agenda and expected to vote on Thursday.
Okay, thank you, Kesha. And I also want to say you are very correct in that a lot of things we face out here far from City Hall, we're about as far from City Hall as we can be. But a lot of the issues and the attitudes that we face are the same as downtown Savannah. Our West Chatham County Community Watch Group formed a little over 2 years ago. We are underrepresented, just like you said. We do have commissioners. They try to work with us, but without us having resources we need, it is very easy for annexations, developments, property takeovers of all different sorts to go on out here without us really having the ability to stay on top of it or know what's going on. We don't have people reaching out to us saying, look at the city council agenda, look at the MPC agenda. We find out the hard way, and a lot of times when we find things out, it's too late. We are sitting in an area where land has been annexed as far back as 2005. We are watching properties being rezoned and annexed that started back in 2017. We are here today because of a development that wants to take place on Little Neck Road. But when we got together, excuse me?
This property in question, Carrie, that's being annexed is owned by the Kellers. And just so that we are helping to educate our listeners, when property is annexed or when a citizen asks the city to annex a piece of property, it has to be privately owned, correct? Can you explain what that process looks like when the property is annexed?
The annexation goes in front of, it skips MPC and it goes to City Council. The property owner can ask to be annexed, or in this situation, the petitioner has said, and it's in the MPC minutes, that the city approached them to annex. The annexation process does not include the public. There does not have to be, from my understanding, any public notice in order to be annexed. It goes in front of the city. The city says yes or no. Then the petitioner can, and in this case, is turning around and asking to rezone. They are trying to rezone out from under the county's ordinance into the city's ordinance so they can build a major planned development. They are trying to put more than 2,700 people on a very few number of acres. And for an example, can you see this at all? No.
For some reason, you actually are frozen, Carrie. So I can hear you just fine. So if you could keep
Okay.
talking, and if you want to email it or text it to me, or were you holding up something?
Yeah, I was trying to hold something up, but I'll just
Okay.
keep talking, Keisha. I don't
Okay.
know why it's frozen. Again,
That's
we have
okay.
communication issues in West Chatham County, and one of those communication issues is internet. And
Oh,
believe it or not, I have the only good internet provider in this area. I pay a very nice penny for it, and this is what I get. And I'm one of the lucky ones. So this is 484 acres of land. They say that they can develop on 240 acres, and they are trying to squeeze 2,700 people on this property. They want to have commercial, they want to have industrial, they want to have townhomes, they want to have single family. They are trying to take this land that has been farmed and has had cows on it and put people on there as they do cattle and corral them into all these buildings onto these tiny pieces of land. Now, to give you a reference, in this area out here, I don't know exactly how many miles it is. And I wish I could show you this piece of paper that I want to show you. We currently have about 2,458 people that reside in this area. And it is about 2.5 times the size of this land that they're wanting to put these houses on. In February, the MPC themselves, this is a RA zoning right now, they're wanting to rezone. The RA zoning is a district that protects rural areas from urban expansion and sprawl. Its intention is to protect rural areas from further urban development, to protect the rural highway roadside areas against strip development, which causes traffic congestion, traffic hazards, and roadside blight. The MPC themselves said that this development, when it's completed, will have a significant impact on the fabric of the area, as it is currently somewhat rural. The site has significant natural resources, including freshwater wetlands, salt marsh, forested areas, and access to the Little Ogeechee River, which is an impaired waterway that flows from this area to the ocean. The proposed development, once it's completed, will have a significant impact on the fabric of the area of this part of Chatham County based on the amount of land disturbance, the amount of rooftops supposed to go here, and the impact it can have going forward. That is straight out of the MPC's mouth. But yet here we are, still wanting to rezone this property. We have a landfill out here. The landfill affects everybody in this portion of West Chatham County, basically from Keller's Flea Market to John Carter, which is where Bloomingdale starts. The landfill is something that people in this area have had to deal with for years and years. It was recently rezoned itself, and it is growing. We do not like living out here. We have a higher chance of cancer from the pollutants in the air. And it is hard to believe, we don't understand at all why somebody wants to develop a property and add more people in the direct line of this landfill. And I'm going to add that the way the wind blows out in this direction, the people who are closer to Stell Park and live going towards Bloomingdale, they get a little bit less of the landfill because the wind blows towards Henderson, towards Keller's Flea Market. So you're going to clear out all these trees to put all these houses there. There's going to be no buffer anymore for this landfill. We don't understand why we want to intentionally subject people to the same hardships that we go through out here. We fight with trash trucks. Every time we go to the store to get milk, we have to put two hands on the wheel. We have to dodge trash trucks that are racing up and down this road. We have potholes all over the place from heavy equipment, from trash trucks, basically from a lot of City of Savannah vehicles that are coming in and out already to build on property towards Bloomingdale and Pooler. We don't understand why this makes any sense. You know, we have the landfill, we have traffic, We are very concerned about flooding out here. Yes, we have some forms of flooding out here when we get rain events, which luckily we haven't had very many this year. They also want to reconstruct Little Neck Road at the same time that they're wanting to start building this planned development. The fixing of the road itself has potential to cause its own flooding. Now you're wanting to take the natural resources from the area. You're wanting to take the marsh that absorbs the water runoff, that helps with the pollution, that helps not pollute the Little Ogeechee. You're wanting to take all of that away, cover it up with pavement and roofs that's going to go into the Little Ogeechee, flood it more, pollute it more. It's going to back up into Henderson. It's going to cause flooding out here we've not seen before. And so far, the only responses we're getting about our concerns are basically, if you think you need flood insurance, go ahead and get it. If you think you need to do land improvements to help make the flooding less, go ahead and invest in your own land improvements. No, it's not the city of Savannah's responsibility to tell people who move into these homes that they are moving in where a landfill is at. We feel like we're still being disregarded. I think there are a few people listening, but for the most part, it feels like, because it's been in the works for so long, that is going to continue on the path that it's continuing on. And I understand when you get financial donations, maybe not from the individual petitioner, but from the law firm that the petitioner works from. When you get donations from engineers that are involved on the projects, developers involved on the projects, and when these reach back for as many years as they have, we understand that someone on the other end of these contributions feels like they're obligated to make these decisions. It doesn't always have.
I'm glad you raised that point, because that was a bit of a contentious situation during our last council meeting, when I made mention to the attorney who works on behalf of the petitioner, in that when you add the element of one, before we add the element, let's first talk about the fact that this has been an underserved community whose issues and concerns have gone unresponded to. You've been ignored. Then we have the extra added burden where decisions made by the previous council,
correct,
associated with the landfill expansion, as well as this council. This council, the majority, which I am not in, made decisions that adversely impacted your community when we first got on council, where that landfill is concerned.
Right.
And then to add insult to injury, when you see that the county and the city kind of bounce the buck back and forth between each other, correct, not recognizing who's representing who or knowing who's on first, second, or third.
Right.
You have sitting council members, one in particular, our mayor, Van Johnson, in real time, receive contributions from the law firm that represents the petitioner in March of this year.
Right.
So you have to ask the question, we're not in an election year. Why are you actively receiving campaign contributions from people who are petitioning our local government for approvals for this type of development?
Right.
And so one of the things that I campaigned on, my tagline was "not for sale." And that encompasses a lot. And one of the things it encompassed was that I was inclined not to accept campaign contributions from individuals who would be coming before me seeking a vote. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't pass the smell test.
Right.
We also tried to implement, amidst our convoluted council rules of council, that essentially suppressed our vote. It suppressed our ability to represent the citizens, in that we can't get anything on the agenda unless we have the consensus of 5 people, when it's going to take 5 votes to get it passed. And so you ice us out, but they ignored my petition where I wanted every single council member, every sitting council member to make a pledge and to sign indicating that they would not take a campaign contribution from someone who was seeking to do business or seek approval from the city. But if they did, if they were inclined to do so, we would have to openly disclose it. But we hide behind the task of saying, well, our contributions are public record, so anybody can go online and see it. You know, we throw that out there like everybody has access to the internet or know how to use it, or that you even did it. And so, yes, that was a point that I made. And I made that point not to bring embarrassment or shame, but to make a point and to say, you people have to stop this. You know, we have had shady shenanigans going on in the previous administration. They were all essentially voted out for reasons specific to this because they were changing the direction and the trajectory of Savannah.
Right.
We got, look at Fraser Homes, underserved community. People, young boys are dying over there like somebody is spraying Raid on flies. Bodies are falling and nobody seems to be concerned about it. The 5th district with the fairgrounds, promise after promise after promise. Let's not talk about Yamacraw and the threat that is being imposed to that community, as well as the 2nd district that's been tremendously gentrified. I looked at a listing just today in a neighborhood I grew up in, near 36th and East Broad, in the 600 block of 39th Street, a 2-story home, modest home, selling for $475,000. Wow. The 600 block of 39th Street near East Broad. And we just approved and signed off on more development in that area, not for affordable housing, not for low income. And then we saw what happened with Chatham Apartments, the 32nd Street School, Clearview. And everybody knows about the Weeping Time and what's going on in the 1st district in West Savannah. And so in every one of those cases, you can directly track a contributor to somebody's campaign where these decisions are made. And so that's why I wanted your voice and to be heard and your face to be seen, because I continuously say to people, you know, since I've been at this table, I have come into the knowledge of a lot. And a lot of what we are dealing with in Savannah is racism, and it happens because of racist people. But you know what, folks? We can no longer keep talking about what the white man is doing to the Black people when we have others who live here also. But what we need to be talking about is what the Black people who are in leadership are allowing the white men who are in power to do to people, Black, white, brown, green, and yellow. We need to be about the business of not majoring in the minor and getting caught up in the minutia and the smoke screens, because that's what they want us to do. They want us to focus on race and fight each other while they are getting their pockets laced and getting what they want. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't focus and lend attention, concern, and care to our neighbors, and in this instance, our neighbors in West Chatham, out Little Neck Road, we all know somebody who live out there, and all of them know somebody who live here in Savannah. And Carrie, we said we're going to do that in the end, but I don't want to forget it. What do you want people here in Savannah to do for you before this meeting on Thursday?
Before the meeting on Thursday, and even at the meeting on Thursday, if you want to sign up and tell the council yourself, that's fine. It's like Kesha says, our Chatham County commissioners feel like they don't have a voice with the council. The city council feels like that if they represent us, they're not representing the best interest of the city themselves. So we don't really have the voice that we need on either side to be heard like we want to. Anybody who is a City of Savannah resident, if you can please email Mark Massey, he is a clerk of court, and ask him to let everybody on the council know that you all support us in West Chatham County, that you all do not want to see this development forced down our throats, that you want to stand up for the little people, that big money has got to stop doing the big talking. If it's not you right now, it will be. It is your neighbor. It is our neighbor. It's not confined to just one area of town. Please email Mark Massey, 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 at savannahga.gov. Let him know that you are standing with us, that we do not want this development out here. Ask him to send that to everybody on the council. Call your council representative. Let them know you have heard our story and you don't appreciate it. Ask them to please listen to us on your behalf. We do not want this planned development out here. It is going to cause us flooding. It's going to pollute these new people with the landfill. There are going to be wrecks out here because the traffic can't support it. I don't care if they're trying to build a road or not. We also have a cemetery out here that's in the middle of everything. Maybe it's only on property that's less than 2 acres. This is a historically Black cemetery. These headstones go back to the 1800s. The plan of action right now is to turn that over and let it become private property of a church in the area, which is great, but they're going to develop all around this cemetery. There is a Georgia law that says that if you break ground and you find unidentified bones, that you have to stop and follow procedure. That's not good enough. We need some type of archaeological study out here before we dig to make sure that we're digging in places that we should be digging. This goes back to the 1800s.
And what were you told, Carrie, when you asked for an archaeological study, or when I reiterated your request? What were you told?
The archaeological study cannot be performed on private property. I also asked for the natural resource study. I forgot what that's called off the top of my head. I was told that the property owners had a private person do that study and that they were going to try and give it to our community, and we've not seen that yet. There were also slave cabins on that property. I didn't bring my book with me. It's a Georgia historical book written that includes authors from the Georgia Department of Education. They know that there were slave cabins out there on that property. We have to study this land before we go out there and dig and make it a rich man's playground. That's not what we need out here. We don't need to tear the community apart. We don't need to tear our history apart.
Well, and we commend you, because amidst you advocating for your community and trying to protect and preserve some semblance of harmony for West Chatham, in the midst of this, you identified another vulnerable situation with this cemetery and these slave cabins. And you did not think it robbery to take the time and make that a part of this issue as well. And so we commend you for that. We want to also acknowledge that the Savannah River Keepers are concerned about the waterways, the waterways there, and the threat that environmental divisiveness will provide with this development is also an issue. And then we have been pushing and pushing and pushing. We would be remiss, Carrie, if we did not mention impact fees. I have been advocating since my time on council to have this ordinance introduced and passed.
Yes.
And fortunately, over the last couple of meetings, finally, after almost 2 years, it's seen the light of day. But we are now told that any development that takes place now would not be subjected to that ordinance, which
Right.
essentially would make a development like this responsible for absorbing and making sure they have great care to mitigating traffic. Right now, you have a major traffic issue that goes on in that
Right.
area that's unchecked. And
Right.
so, what do you think this is going to now do to that area if this
Exactly.
development is not held accountable for making sure that we have the necessary expansions and sidewalks and street
Right.
lights and traffic lights, the extra police, the extra fire service,
Right.
libraries, recreation, parks, all
Mhm.
of those things that come with the needs of expanding the community. Now we're just left at the leisure of the developer who's just in it for the money. And if it's going to
Exactly.
not be a part of their profit margin, they're not inclined to be concerned about these things.
Right.
So, again, I want to give our listening audience an opportunity to help you tonight.
Okay.
Carrie
Yes.
and the residents of the West Chatham County community are asking us, they're asking Savannahans. They can't vote for us. I could easily ignore this and say, well, you can't vote for me, so why do I care? I care because I have seen a consistent theme, a consistent pattern of this type of decision making since I've been on council. As I stated, somebody just said Weeping Time, Fraser Homes, 5th District Fairgrounds, Yamacraw, gentrification of various districts in our community, specifically the 2nd, Chatham Apartments, and now Clearview. We look at how an Eastern Wharf is a planned community, and it happened just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we plan inclusionary zoning and ordinances to protect our communities when it comes to our regular, everyday working citizens who bore the responsibility of a lot of this growth via their tax dollars? We want you tonight to take the time and send a letter to mmassey@savannahga.gov. That's mmassey, MASSEY, mmassey@savannahga.gov. Send a message, a note, an email. Let your district representative know where you live and ask them to support the residents of West Chatham. You tell your district alderperson, whether it be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, myself, post 1, and Alderwoman Blakely, post 2. Let them know that it is your expectation that we are Chatham County. We are Savannah, and we are Chatham County, and we stand in the gap for the West Chatham community, and that you want them to vote no to this development. We know that it takes 5 votes to vote anything up or vote anything down. The West Chatham community is now supported openly. They have 3 votes. They have my vote, they have Alderwoman Blakely's vote, and they have Alderwoman Lanier's vote. They only need 2 more to vote no. We're asking you tonight to listen to Ms. Bieber on behalf of the West Chatham community. Ms. Bieber, I want to thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you,
And
Kesha.
we want to commend you.
Thank you.
This woman, when she's finished with this, we hope that she's victorious. But if any of you need a researcher, I call her secretly. That's Miss Snoop Doggy Dog. she will snoop it out. She will snoop it out, and she will make it known. And we also want to know that, let people know the issues that you've had with MPC and the notices. And I know
Yes.
many people who are listening tonight They have also had issues with notices for these zoning
Yes.
petitions in when, how, and where these signs are. Are
Yes.
they visible enough? Are they timely enough? And we know that that's been a real issue as well. And so we're going to press and we're going to see if we can ask that some policies and rules and processes be changed with regard to that as well. Listen, Savannah, we are all we have. We are all we have. And I will tell you this, in 10 to 15 short years or less, Savannah and Chatham County will not be who she is today. If we do not stand up, rise up, and speak out and hold these elected officials accountable where our communities are concerned. The complexions of our communities by way of demography to include race, gender, economic status is changing right before our very eyes. We have more people who visit and tour in Savannah who love her far more than we do because we're not getting the love back from our local governments. We want you to take your rightful place in protecting what you want to see Savannah as in the future. I want to thank you for your time, Ms. Bieber, and thank all of my listeners and viewers for being with us again this week. I love you, Savannah. Good night.